The clock started with someone else's finger. Admiral Mara Vance watched the ultimatum tick down on the forward glass, while a taste of copper rose along her tongue. The convoy, a ragged bead string of ore barges and medical freighters, hung against the pale shimmer of the Eburn Gate, its slip-drive filaments purling like breath on winter air. Their escorts were undergunned cutters, heat-bloated from sprinting. An enemy bullhorn repeated the frame's surrender transponders and cargo. Scuttle drives, kneel to boarding, or be deleted in 19 minutes. Fleet mind, she said, voice low, confirmed the stamp. Kestrel unfolded in the comms band, precise and dry as a metronome. Issuer identifies as Prefect Jorah Hesh, Ultimacy Directorate, 3rd Lattice. Authentication passes route echo and voice print. Ultimatum clock started at 14 our local gate time. 19 minutes, now 1852. The bridge hummed with 1,000 regulated noises. The deck gave a small thrum as coolant lifted through the keel. Sweat stung her hairline, cleaned by the scrubbers before the salt reached her eyes. Beyond the glass, the enemy wall was a hard crescent of gun platforms and picket ships. Their radiator wings fanned like gulls. Vector Commander Evo Chen asked, eyes never leaving the plotted volumes, if we burn to interpose, we hit heat ceilings before they can reposition. We won't get them all, Lieutenant Sana Paredes said, her hands resting lightly on the EW cradle. Not on straight kinetics. They'll scythe the slowest freighters first. Mara let the silence sit long enough to feel the hull's faint vibration notch higher as reactor valves shifted. We are not here to trade bodies for seconds, she said. Kestrel, I have a deception corridor with decoy blooms and perspective flips, Kestrel replied. We can make the convoy look thinner and closer to the gate than it is. Requires the lattice mirrors we packed for Port Orison. Risk their doctrine includes purge of false compliance. If our trick is detected, they accelerate the deletion. A tick shorter than a heartbeat passed. Mara smelled the ion sting from nearby projectors powering idly. She set her palms on the rail and felt the cold through the glove leather. We teach before we fire. The words were flat and absolute. Chen's mouth closed on an unfinished question. Sana's gaze flicked to Mara, then away, as if she'd seen a switch flip inside the Admiral and preferred not to stare directly. Civilians first, Mara said. Dish Kerm to convoy. Kestrel, open band to all ships in the bead. Live, Kestrel said. Her voice went soft. Convoy, this is Admiral Mara Vance. Terran conquered. You have 18 minutes on a cruel clock. We will get you through the gate, but you must obey my voice without embroidery. Cutters, salt the convoy with your chaff and flare, then stand off. Do not try to be dueling ships. Your measure is discipline. The rest is mine. The comms filled with tight, steady breaths and clipped confirmations. Someone coughed. Someone else prayed under their breath. The words, a rhythm behind static. The forward glass showed the enemy formation contracting a fraction, taste testing its line like a predator testing current. Sana whispered, they'll scrub our words within their wall. Let them. Mara said, we don't need to persuade Prefect Hesh. We need to earn time. Ultra-wide ping, Kestrel said. Hesh is transmitting the ultimatum ledger. He counts his threats as if they were deeds. Let him count. Mara's shoulders loosened by a fraction. Rukmini, hold us on a cool drift until I say otherwise. On the keel. Helmsman Rukmini, Das replied. Her fingers tapped a soft tremolo along the stick. The view adjusted, and the distant gate's corona slid a degree to starboard. The deck's faint buzzing deepened. A bee's swarm buried in steel. 15 minutes. 58 seconds. Kestrel said, I detect shifting fields. They're preparing a corridor to accept captured ships. Mara's jaw tightened. Then I'll tell them the joke before they deliver the punchline. She stared at the hard crescent and pictured the doctrine written into the men behind those hulls. The Ultimacy trained its officers to speak like granite tablets, obey the dictate or be erased. Cost of compliance was humiliation. Cost of refusal was death. To them, this was clarity, the clean line between order and chaos. To her, it was lazy violence wearing a uniform. "Prefect Hesh," she said, opening a narrow beam that went laser to laser. "You can hear me. I am not here to trade threats. I am here to state limits. If you open fire on any non-combatant vessel, we will demonstrate the part of law your school forgot. We count. The funicular of your rhetoric is unnecessary." Hesh replied immediately, voice warm with contempt. Static scratched along the edges like sand. "Your convoy will stop, scuttle drives, and be catalogued. The remainder of your fleet will push back from the gate and hold position. 18 minutes will suffice for obedience." "Your timer doesn't own our breath." Hesh chuckled once, high and bright, like cut crystal. "You think that changes the arithmetic, Admiral. Doctrine does not bruise. It repeats." Gosh, the bridge's light was cool against Mara's cheek. A faint coolant hiss bled from a vent near the commander's knee, smelling faintly of lemon. She let the drone of the ship pour through her nerves until she steadied. "Kestrel," she said, "show me the lattice." A ghost of lines overlaid the glass, thin silver skeins crossing the convex void. They were angel's hair to the naked eye, reflecting at specific incident angles. A specular web seeded by 100 dart drones. They could bend the enemy's picture of space, give the convoy a pocket where distance lied and radius stretched. The net would require heat they couldn't spare if they also burned hard to interpose. Heat budgets ticked like abacuses in her head. "We can run cold while we weave it," Kestrel said, anticipating the objection. "We'll need the convoy to flutter transponders in patterns that sell our false depths. Sana can handle the broadcast sculpting." "I can," Sana said. Her hands hovered. The EW console's edges glowed faintly. A low sunrise. 14 minutes. 12 seconds. Kestrel added, "Hesh's pickets are powering spool cutters." Mara nodded. The hull thrummed again, a heart clearing its throat. She wished for the click of a pen, something to mark time with her own pace, then dismissed the thought. Clutter was a luxury. "Civilian band again," she said. "Before we begin, give me their faces." Kestrel layered the bridge audio with the convoy's open channel, narrow-beamed to protect them. The images did not show. The voices did. "I've got kids wrapped in blankets by the bulkhead," a freighter captain said, breath hitching on the first word, then ironing smooth. "Medical bay is already full from the last jump. We can run." "Admiral, but we can't sprint." "My cutter's radiators are orange," a young lieutenant said, attempting lightness and nearly finding it. "We will stay salty and out of the duel." "Someone tell my mother I didn't lose the family farm to die in a box," a miner joked, the line breaking at the end as if he'd moved his mic to hide the shake. "I am a teacher," a woman said, "a teacher by cadence more than content. We are 60 souls aboard this cargo hull. Many are students. I am teaching them to breathe through the count. They ask if the law is real when guns are beside the rule." A soft chorus of human noises washed the bridge, a baby fussing, a filtered cough, cloth rasping against cloth. There was the tang of ozone from the comms pack as Paredes tuned gains. The deck's vibration slid under the soles of Mara's boots, steady as a metronome. "You are not alone on this clock." The line wasn't for Hesh. It was for those students and the miner and the overburdened medic, for the cutter lieutenant with orange fins and the freighter captain who swallowed his terror like a nail. "On my mark," Mara said, shifting back into steel. "Sana, begin the perspective weave. Convoy, pulse your transponders on Kestrel's pattern, and no improv theater. Rukmini, keep us cold and slippery. Evo, if they flick any lock onto the slowest barge, I want a lane to shotgun in and put our hull between." "Aye," Chen said. His fingers danced across the solution board. "We'll bleed heat if we do that twice." "Then we won't do it more than twice," Mara said. "We are not here to be martyrs. We are here to be a wall." Sana lifted her hand a fraction, then let it fall, beginning the dance. The convoy trembled in the glass, not physically, but in the frame. The enemy would raid thin where it was thick, closer where it was far. The mirror drones spun their foil like spiders at the corners of a room, threads catching light that a machine would trust. 12 minutes, 30 seconds, Kestrel intoned. Hesh has deployed rule anchors to tag compliant targets. Mara's mouth quirked, a humorless little hook. "Rule anchors," she murmured. "Pretty names for handcuffs." "His doctrine relies on ritual nouns," Kestrel said. "It makes theft sound like an audit." "We will settle the account in public, Admiral," Chen said. Just enough strain under the syllables to be a warning. "Picket 4 is sliding its lock onto barge 3. Now," she said, and Rukmini moved. The halcyon verge rolled with the slow elegance of a whale, radiator vanes tucked, and cut across a vector like a drawn line. The deck's vibration rose, then steadied, heat sinks swallowing the spike. Sana's weave thrummed in the glass, convincing 3 enemy pickets that the verge wasn't quite where she was. A narrow band crackled. "You'll cook your crew for strangers," Hesh observed, almost admiring. "We will teach you that steel melts like any principle." "Your syllogisms bore me," Mara said. "I prefer math to riddles." The picket's lock shifted, lost, flicked, then slid to another target. The convoy's flares were fireflies. The gate's pale curtain rippled as slip energies flexed like gills. 10 minutes, Kestrel said. Mara exhaled and smelled the faint citrus of the coolant again, like the ghost of a kitchen she'd once known. The bridge lights were a patient blue. Her suit's underlayer was warm against her spine. Loop 1, she thought. A private count. Seed the mystery. How do you stop a doctrine that eats law and calls it order? Reveal. You teach it a number it cannot swallow. Payoff. Not yet. Soon. Kestrel, she said. I want our ledger open. I want the convoy's costs counted in real-time, flares burned, coolant drained, cradles overheated, any injury, any fracture. Publish it to the local net. Done, Kestrel said. Publishing now. 47,000 credits in spent flares. 4 crew with heat rash. 1 broken wrist from a fall. Make it visible, she said. Not for pity. For proof. You cannot erase what we account. Hesh's reply came with soft amusement. You believe a list protects you. I believe in simpler tools. His guns began to wake. Not all at once and not yet aimed. Rather, the muzzle cones unfurled like metal flowers. The crescent wrenched tighter. The pickets began to saw sideways, plowing lanes where boarding cutters could ride. Sana hissed between her teeth. Just once. A breath that hit the mic and made the speakers pop. 9 minutes. 40. Kestrel said. Civilian vignette. Mara said softly, like a conductor calling for a flute. Kestrel narrowed to a cluster. Give me 6 voices. Keep it clean. The bridge filled again. Captain, my boy keeps asking if stars can cut you. A woman said, tone as level as a table. I told him only men do that. My elbow hurts. A child said, very serious. But I can breathe through 4, and then 4 again. I lost my wedding ring 2 jumps ago and don't know how to tell him. Someone confessed. Voice tiny with laughter that was half sob. The coffee maker died. A crewman reported dryly, this is the true war crime. We've got Basil in a little rack near the heat exchange. Another voice said, it smells like a summer I might get to have. Teacher again. The first voice returned, as softened by the sound of a hand smoothing someone's hair. The girls have decided to name your ship. They asked what keeps you steady. Mara's eyes slid to the hull's designation etched at the glass's base. The black letters that said Halcyon Verge. Tell them she keeps herself steady. Mara said, but she listens when we whisper. We steady hands with names and numbers. The enemy formation jolted. Not by us, but by Doctrine Hesh's clock shaved a minute, a punishment for refusal to comply. 8 minutes. 30. Chen swore under his breath. 3 syllables, and done. The deck's vibration climbed a notch higher, now a palpable hum against shin bones. Ozone Tang licked the back of Mara's throat as the gate spat a slow shimmer down its face. Loop 2, she thought. Seed Hesh shaved the clock. He thinks fear makes shape. Revealed fear makes shape the wrong way if you're looking at the wrong axis. Pay off. Not yet. Sana, Mara said. They'll try to tag the freighter with the Basil. Hide her behind a Louderson. Sana's mouth curved. Louderson coming up. Her hands coaxed the board. One of the cutters suddenly lit up as if its transponder had multiplied, the electronic echo of a rich prize. The pickets twitched toward it. The cutter peeled away and spilled chaff. 7 minutes. 50, Kestrel said. Prefect Hesh is broadcasting his ledger fines owed for non-compliance, tallying each second of delay. Keep mirroring it with our own, Mara said. Let his numbers bite themselves. Your ledger has teeth, so does ours. Admiral, Chen warned, their inner arc is flexing. If we keep running cold, we still hit the heat ridge if we have to jump twice to cover. Then we don't jump twice, Mara said. We jump once. Hard. Where it hurts. She felt the bridge look at her without moving. The helm cradled a tremor under Rukmini's fingers, held in check. The coolant hissed again. The lemon cut through steel and sweat. The forward glass showed the foe growing like a storm. Rukmini, Mara said, on my mark. Paint me a burn that looks wasteful and is not. Chen, plan a corridor that looks suicidal and is not. Sana, when we leap, make our wake shout like thunder and whisper like snow. You do love metaphors when it's ugly, Sana murmured. 6 minutes, 40, Kestrel said. Mara thumbed the narrowband back to Hesh. Prefect, she said, conversational. How do you punish a fleet that refuses your grammar? With deletion. Hesh said, equally mild. Law must be crisp. Your softness phrase it. Soft, she asked, and let her voice smile. I brought knives. I just use them on different ropes. The law isn't soft, it's sharp. She cut the narrowband and exhaled. Her suit's inner fans whispered along her neck. The hull's vibration now had a specific pitch she could hum to if she'd had a freer heart. Mark, she said, and the ship moved. The Halcyon Verge's main drive bit space and peeled a strip of ice off the deck of Mara's lungs. Heat washed through the frames like a dry storm. Rukmini's fingers were precise commas on the stick, never a semicolon. They cut into the bracket, crosswise to the enemy scythes, and for 2 seconds every man and woman and child in the convoy thought she was mad. "Oh, hoo!" Sana whispered, "A prayer or a laugh? Look at them bite." Hesh's pickets pivoted to answer the feint, opening a seam where no seam had been. Chen's plan slid like a sheet of paper under a door. The convoy's nose turned to that slit. Sana flooded the enemy sensors with a festival of false noise that painted our burn as a belligerent waste. Behind it, the mirror drones undulated, laying an avenue that only we knew the trick to walk. 5 minutes. 40, Kestrel said. Heat margin on us is acceptable if we don't repeat this idiocy. We won't, Mira said. Her mouth was dry. She swallowed and tasted the metallic sting of recycled air. Convoy. On me. Teachers and Basil Gardeners. Breathe on my count. 4 in. 4 hold. 4 out. The teacher said, picking up the cue. Again. Again. Basil is okay. Someone said, leaves are a little singed, but she's a fighter. 3 minutes. 50. Kestrel said. A boarding cutter sprinted, angry and fast, cheeks full of rocket. It arrowed for the freighter that had lost its wedding ring and found its courage. Sana leaned a degree left, as if her body could nudge photons. The weave blinked. The cutter overcorrected and lanced along empty glass, resetting to a new line like a needle, biting flesh and missing the vein. Hydraulics in Bay 3 are growling, Chen said. I'll get you the parts list later. Get me the parts list after we all have coffee, Mara said, preferably not boiled in a boot. 2 minutes. 50, Kestrel said. Heish opened band to the whole system, voice serene. This is your final lesson. You will stop now. Delay has cost you the cheap path. Deletion begins in 160 seconds. Mara gripped the rail. The hull thrummed so steadily now that it felt like the spine of a big mammal on a winter run. She saw, in the glass, her fleet in its perfect imperfection, the Verge with its scars. 2 escorts with mismatched radiator fins like missing teeth. A carrier with a patched corner. She loved them with the same stubborn tenderness she reserved for numbers and for children who asked better questions than comfortable men liked. We will not kneel for your clock. The seam was there and then smaller. The mirror net flexed. The convoy pressed. The gate's corona fluttered. 1 minute. 50, Kestrel said. Last vignette before we punch, Mira said, too quietly for the band that went to Hesh. Give me 6 more. Keep it human. I can feel the air moving. A boy said, awe behind his fear. Is that your ship breathing? I lost my temper a year ago and haven't found it. A woman admitted, I would like to keep that streak. I've never met a real admiral, a man said frankly. You sound tired. I hope you sleep. I named one of the basil plants after you. A teen said, if she dies, I'm blaming you. I fixed broken clamps. A voice grunted. I'll fix yours if you get my daughter through. We're through if this works. A miner whispered, if this works, I'll send you a coffee machine. 2, and beans that taste like rain. 1 minute is enough if we're together. Hesh's guns flashed, finally abandoning pretense. He fired not at us but at the lane, to shear off the mirror threads. Where bolts hit, runnels of light shredded like spider silk in a storm. Sana, Mara said, throw tight. I'm already knitting new reflections, Sana said calmly. But the weave is thin. 40 seconds. Kestrel said, Rukmini, burn on my mark. Mara said, her voice the flat tone you use to tell a child to step back from a rail. Chen, give me a frame to absorb their rage without bleeding us out. 35 seconds, Kestrel said. Prefect. Mara said on narrowband. Last chance. Stand down and take the win of not killing children today. Law cannot coddle, Hesh replied softly. It must be an edge. 28 seconds, Kestrel said. Mark. The halcyon verge punched. A precise, miserly burn that pretended to be wasteful. Heat climbed a rib higher. Somewhere below, a plate popped as if someone had cracked a knuckle. The convoy surged as one body. The gate drank them by the mouthful. 20 seconds, Kestrel said. 3 freighters through. 16 is a lovely number to live. 15 seconds. 7 through. A bolt carved past the verge, painting a line of hurt across empty volume, and struck a cutter. The cutter did not explode. It stuttered, hiccuped, and then coasted, heat-sick and stunned. Its captain's voice came to bridge, ragged and steady at once. We're fine. We're orange. But fine. 10 seconds. Kestrel said. 11 through. Mara's teeth were clenched so hard that pain lanced her temple. She forced her jaw to loosen and breathed her own count. 4 in. 4 hold. 4 out. She smelled the wintry metal scent of the gate as if it were close enough to touch. 6 seconds, Kestrel said. 15 through. Rukmini. Last kiss, Mara said, and they kissed space. The convoy's tail hopped like a child over a puddle. The gate took them. The weave collapsed behind them with a soundless sigh. 0. Kestrel said, Convoy is through. We are alone on this side with the doctrine. The deck's vibration leveled but didn't fully ease. The heat sunk itself into the verge's bones. Sana sagged 2 centimeters and then caught herself. Chen glanced at her. She waved him off with an annoyed flick that was a love letter in code. Cost tally, Mara said. Published, Kestrel replied. 1 cutter with blistered fins. 27 crew treated for heat rash. 4 minor fractures. 1 broken rung in Bay 3. Basil 17 lost 2 leaves. Basil Vance is intact. Publish Hesh's costs, Mara said, and let a little iron sugar her voice. Not dead. Just choices. Your public ledger now includes your fear. Hesh laughed again. That cut crystal chiming. You bought them 9 lives at the price of your position, he said. And you taught them that disobedience is possible. You have justified the next deletions. Thank you for pedagogy. Loop 3, Mara thought. Seed Hesh wants to make mercy look like cruelty's midwife. Reveal he only counts the next blow, not the next audience. Pay off. The audience will be his court. She looked at the hard crescent. He would not break the gate. He'd let us stew and mount his case that we had corrupted order. She knew that road. She'd walked it in smaller rooms. Kestrel, she said, open the gate's public channel. System-wide. I want a court. The gate transceivers are neutral by charter. Kestrel said, they are obliged to relay. Good, Mara said. Prefect Hesh, you and I will now place our ledgers side by side and let the system watch the numbers argue. Hesh's voice went cooler. He did not deny the law, because law was his costume. He couldn't deny a court without taking the costume off. Proceed, he said. Rukmini. Keep us cool and behind our own shadow. Chen, run me heat budgets for the next 3 moves we might need. Sana, keep knitting threads as decoys. We won't yank their guns. We'll yank their pride. The bridge smelled faintly of hot dust under the scrubbers. The suit fans ticked like moth wings near Mara's ears. The forward glass showed a kind of quiet you only get when two predators pace. We opened the book where everyone can read. The court was a channel, not a room. Names came to it like moths dock managers, clergy, school kids, off-shift engineers with grease in their skin. The gate beacon gave it a dull, steady chime like heartbeat. Kestrel presented data in plain language. Not graphs, this many credits of flares, this many hours of missed schooling, this many blistered fingers, this many basil leaves singed, this many minutes shaved from a threat. Hesh presented calm tables with fines and penalties, the elegance of columns snug against his voice. This is the fee for refusal. This is the levy for delay. This is the surcharge for making me speak twice. To a weak heart, it looked like math. A child asked, "Why do your numbers hurt and hers heal?" Hesh did not answer the child. He answered the parents, because order has a price. Mara answered the child, because law has value. Say it again for those in the back. She told a story about her first ship, a patrol cutter with a dented bow where some idiot had misjudged a dock. She told them what her captain had taught, the difference between a rule and a ritual. A rule protects, a ritual impresses. When the ritual hurts, the thing the rule is meant to protect. You cut the ribbon, not the throat. Loop 4, she thought. Seed, the ritual of Hesh's doctrine is clean. Reveal his cleanliness is purchased in a slaughterhouse. Payoff, invite him to show the knives. Prefect, Mara said, show the deletion protocol, not the summary. The procedure. Hesh hesitated. She tasted it in the silence like the tang before lightning. Very well, he said. He broadcast the clean list he wanted shown: power down drives, open airlocks for inspection, prepare for pruning of excess personnel to compliance units. It was a euphemism that made a boot print on the throat. Sana didn't hiss this time. She said, softly. They trained him to never say the part the knife remembers. We learn fast when the knife speaks. The court's channel filled with voices that were suddenly less careful. Anger does that. It rips the nap off the cloth. But behind the anger was a quieter math, the math of grocery lists and school rosters and the hours of a shift. Hesh's doctrine had a problem. It had always relied on fear and distance. Today it had proximity and a gate's public ear. Admiral, Kestrel said in Mara's inner band, we can shift to the second act. Not yet, she said in the same narrowness. One more loop. The deck's vibration eased a fraction as Rukmini stole a sliver of shadow. The coolant hissed a whisper. Mara looked at the crescent and thought about the next cost Hesh would try to charge. He would try to press a civilian hull anyway. To punish the sin of spectacle. It would break his pretense, but cement his power among his own. He'll go for one ship, she said, and Chen nodded like they'd both recognized a tune. Observation nets show his inner arc targeting the medical freighter that stayed behind to treat the cutter, Chen said. Then we must do an impolite thing, Mara said, and felt something in her chest steady, like a cup, set firmly on a table. We hold the line by making a door. This time there was no feint about it. The verge cut at a diagonal that laid her belly between the crescent and the freighter. The deck sang. The heat numbers climbed. A smell like hot pennies filled the air. A small alarm chirped twice and then shut up because Chen told it to. Hesh fired a warning shot that passed within 1,000 meters of the freighter's bow. Then another that was not a warning. Sana grabbed the beam with a fold in the weave and slid it 600 meters to starboard, where it wrote a bright line across nothing and went out. The freighter's captain wept once, silently, because of the saved seconds, then stopped because a hand did its job. We can do that twice more before the heat says no, Kestrel warned. Once more, Mara said. We only need once. Loop 5, she thought. Seed. We can't hold this posture. Reveal we don't have to. Payoff. Make him spend the coin he swore he didn't use. Panic. Prefect, she said aloud. You are now aiming at a hospital. Your rhetoric does not have a ribbon big enough. You think me afraid of your court, Hesh said, but his voice had moved half a degree. It was now speaking to 2 rooms at once. It was a mistake men with doctrine make. They forget to decide which room matters. Gate, Mara said. Publish the names of everyone on that freighter. First names. Children too. They should be counted as soon as we can say them. Names scrolled. Kaylee. Jay. Min. Ruth. Theo. Aiko. Bashir. Gibbs. Sana's mouth tightened when she heard one that matched her own. The deck's hum kept the time anyway. Name them and make the room quiet. Hesh didn't fire. He didn't withdraw either. He held. A man at a cliff edge who insists that cliffs are abstract until they have his toes. Kestrel, Mara said in the small channel. System scale flip. I have the corridor mapped, Kestrel replied with pleased precision, like a chef about to turn a pan. We let him build a killbox. Then we turn his angles inside out. We have the mirrors. The gate's energy will lend the shimmer. Heat Chen asked. Costly but payable, Kestrel said. We will singe our eyebrows. Do it when I say. Mara said. We need one more thing. Watsana asked. A civilian vignette, Mara said. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so necessary. War needs faces. Or it becomes an algorithm that eats its coders. Kestrel pulled 3 voices at random and 3 by design. I used to run a bakery near the glass. A voice said, older and warm. I remember you. Verge. You docked there to fix a dent. Your captain bought bread and paid with a note that said, good bread is a kind of truce. I am 13, a boy said solemnly. I have decided that when I am 14, I will be 13 again. I don't like war, a little girl declared, but I like that people read names. I kissed my wife behind a radiator, a mechanic confessed, aiming for levity and hitting something sweeter. It was warm and smelled like old coins. I'm the teacher, the familiar voice said. The girls have written your whisper on the board. It says listen, count, breathe, act. I am Basil Vance. A teen said, trying out courage like a new jacket. I am green and stubborn and alive. We remember by ledgers, not by collars. Mara let herself smile for 1 second. Mid-story, she thought. Stamp the lore. Kestrel would have logged it already. Prefect, she said. Back in the band, both swallowed. Your doctrine depends on my silence between your loud statements. I have removed your silences. In 30 seconds, my fleet will perform a demonstration. We will not strike your hulls. We will show your numbers losing their edge in daylight. Proceed. He said, thick with disdain. The sun is indifferent. Let's light him anyway, Mara said. Kestrel, flip the box. The Verge sang. It wasn't sound, but it had the shape of singing. The mirror drones, already seeded for perspective games, shifted to a deeper function. They made a lattice not the advertised kind, but one tuned to gather the gate's peripheral wash and fold it along our chosen planes. The enemy thought they had a channel that ran from the crescent's mouth to the convoy's neck. Suddenly, the channel curved back to kiss their own guns. Sana, make them see their own hand. Her hands were a blur, Electrons told lies that felt like truth. The enemy pickets, trusting their ritual, corrected toward their own center to catch a prize that, on their board, had paused for one delicious instant. In reality, they opened a hole for a ship that didn't exist and closed their guns on each other's arcs. "We're not firing," Chen said, half in wonder. "We're counting," Mara said, and the court counted with them. How many seconds of confusion before Doctrine could admit it didn't know which way was forward? How many degrees of turn before an admiral learned to listen without an order? Hesh recovered quickly. He snapped his pickets outward with a contemptuous tone that implied all of this was tedious. But the impression had landed. The court had watched him correct for a mistake that math should have seen first. Had math been as pure as he loved to pretend? Cost, Mara said. Published, Kestrel said. Heat up 10%. 2 burned fingers in Bay 3 when a tech tried to tighten a hot coupling. 1 cracked lens on Mirror Drone 47. Basil Vance still intact. Make a note, Mara said, and felt softness as a blade. Send coffee machines to the convoy if we live. There is always a bill. We choose who pays. Hesh came back online. You have made a parlor trick, he said. Your mirrors will not stand a second try. Good thing we don't intend to repeat ourselves, Mara said. Care to stop murdering civilians now and prove you are more than your ritual? Silence. Except for the measured hum of the verge, the temperature of the air on Mara's tongue, the faint tick from somewhere deep where 2 metals cooled at different rates. Loop 6, she thought. Seed. He can't admit a retreat. Reveal he can choose a different theater. Payoff. He'll go for the planet. Kestrel, she said. Inner band. Watch the drift of his wall. Already watching. Kestrel replied. He's widening his arc. The direction favors a low-burn path to the planet's power stations. Of course it does, Mara said. He can't lose here without breaking his legend. So he'll change the subject. Rukmini said, Chen said, can we grin and skip down to the well? That's a lot of burn and not a lot of radiator. We can kiss the well once. Rukmini said, we'll have to make it count. Then we make it count, Mara said. Her mouth formed the word and tasted the metal of it. Broadcast to the planet, lock down power stations, move civilians. We will draw him back by his pride. How do you pull a wolf? You show its track. The planet's channels burst with life governors, union leaders, a choir director whose schedule had been destroyed by surprise. People moved. People cursed. People put names on lists and called rooms to bar doors. It was messy and splendid. Mara spoke to them once. He wants you to panic, and then he wants to punish your panic. Don't. Breathe. Count. Close what must be closed. Open only what you must. We will pull him by the nose. Then she cut the band and let Kestrel do the math while people did the work. We can't hold the planet and the gate, Chen said. We must pick a stage. We pick both by making one matter more, Mara said. Hesh believes in the doctrine of knives. We will offer a mirror that shows him his neck. Mirror, Sana repeated. The word a delicate shard on her tongue. We're close to overusing that root. Then pick a new route, Mara said. Dry. And Sana laughed, a sound like a string plucked. We don't repeat, we redesign. The plan took 2 minutes to assemble. A lifetime in this math, and yet only a small pause in the humankind. Kestrel made the lattice not an image, but a memory. Not a mirror, but an echo. The gate's wash became a slow, cooling pool they could dip the enemy into. Just far enough to sap the joy from his speed. Heat will be ugly, Chen warned. Radiators will sweat. People sweat too, Mara said. They live. Bridge, A voice cut in Dr. Halim. From medical. I have blistered crew. We can keep them on their feet. But they will be angry with you after. I accept the invoice. Mara said. Tell them I'll buy their forgiveness with coffee and 3 more days on shore. She pays her bills. She signs her name. Hesh moved exactly as expected, and also as infuriatingly as a man who thinks his expectations are laws instead of models. He cut for the planet. The Verge's drives answered like a book's spine cracking. The deck buzzed higher. The coolant hissed. The air smelled now like a thunderstorm that had been baked. They met him halfway to the well. He had superiority in hulls and heat capacity and a doctrine that let him trade crew for position. She had a lattice, a court, and a fleet that had decided to listen to a whisper. It was not fair math. Fairness is a stranger to war. But it was just math, if you counted the right things. Pull, she said, and Kestrel pulled. The enemy wall felt the gate's low wash as something it needed to lean away from. Sana made that leaning look like eagerness to close. They came at each other at angles that made no sense if you were looking at one board, and perfect sense if you were looking at 2. Hesh couldn't admit the wrong board. Admitting would crack the mirror he used to shave. We don't shave with glass. We shave with facts. The first impact was not heat or light. It was a decision. Hesh chose to fire at an angle that would push us toward the well. It was meant to be punitive. The lattice caught the shove and bent it, like a mother taking a toddler's slap by the wrist. We slid where we intended anyway. Cost, Mara said. Published? Kestrel said. 4 more heat rashes. 1 sprained ankle on ladder 5. Mirror drone 63 cooked. Basil Vance still stubborn. Make a note, Mara said. If Basil Vance dies, we rename the next plant Basil Hesh and overwater it. Do not give your enemies better names. It wasn't a battle song. It was an accounting hymn. Numbers stacked. Seconds ticked. The deck hummed. Mara's breath had a rhythm now independent of fear in hold, out. Her jaw ached less. Admiral, Chen said suddenly, voice pitched carefully neutral. I believe I have found our second escalation. Show me, she said. And he did. He had found a place where the enemy believed their lattice of pickets was a fence. It was a funnel if you were not a coward. It would cost heat. It would scrape paint. It would scare the teacher and exhilarate the mechanic with the radiator kiss. We should not do this, Rukmani said, respectful but stubborn. We should absolutely not. We're going to, Mara said mildly, because Hesh will not follow. He cannot. Because his ritual forbids him from turning his back to the court he thinks he terrifies. And because when we come out of the other side, we will be between him and the planet. He will have to admit we exist as a factor. Rukmani set her jaw. Then I want a bonus, she said. 2 days. And good shoes. Agreed, Mara said. Kestrel, she asked. I have a run, Kestrel said, with a note like a violin, pure and calm. It will make our bones ring. But it will also make his doctrine sound like a bell, pretty and brittle. Then ring it, Mara said. Ring it. They ran the funnel. The hull sang at a higher pitch. Somewhere, a bolt gave up a complaint so loud that Sana flinched as if she'd been slapped. The forward glass ached with the neural overlay's attempts to show their position and failed gracefully. Then handed control to Kestrel, whose sense of space had never needed glass. They came out where Chen promised, between Hesh and the planet. The court said nothing for 3 seconds. Silence is a verdict. Then voices came like rain. Hesh said nothing at all. Doctrine is a habit. Habits don't speak when surprised. Cost, Mara said. Throat raw. Published. Kestrel said, "We cooked 20% of our radiator's edge. Dr. Halim reports one crewman with a heat blister across the back. Treated. Basil Vance drooped and then rallied. Hydraulics in Bay 3 have gone from growl to sulk. Add new hydraulic rams to the coffee and shoes," Mara said. "And a poem." A poem, Sana asked, incredulous and charmed, breathless enough to let it show. A short one, Mara said. "Write it on the box. The shoes come in." Hesh had to speak now. When he did, his voice had lost just a degree of shine. "You have bought a ring of minutes with trinkets and cheap tricks. The planet will still pay the tariff." Loop 7 year, Mara thought. His seed, he consolidates the loss into a future victory. Reveal, the future has an audience. Payoff, take it away by moving the game to a book he didn't write. Prefect, she said aloud, "We are opening a corridor for your withdrawal that does not humiliate you. Take it. Call it a tactical redeployment to adjust to an unexpected gate anomaly. We will not fire as you go. We will publish your restraint. You offer me mercy so you can look taller," Haish said. "Your ledger wants new ink." "It does," she said. "We all want ink. The point is to write numbers that don't bleed. There is courage in putting the pen down." The court was a chorus now. Not all friendly. Some angry at the conquered. Some certain that the ultimacy kept pirates off their lanes. Humans have many rooms in their heads. She loved them for it. "Kestrel," she said in the small channel. "He's not taking the corridor." "No," Kestrel said. "His doctrine forbids retreats that look like capitulations. So we make another corridor," she said. "One that he thinks is a trap and therefore refuses. When he refuses, he is moving on our terms." "Architecting," Kestrel said. "Admiral," Dr. Halim whispered in her ear. "The way doctors talk to captains when the patient needs a captain to be a person. We have one crewman, Jace. Heat blister along the spine. He asked me if this is worth it. It is," Mara said, and knew that history allowed no softer answer. "But tell him I will still owe him coffee, and I will let him choose the shoes. You pay your debts, and you mean it." They built the corridor. It was simple. That's the trick. Complex things break in complex ways. Simple things snap and whistle. Yes, but they are legible. They lit a path that suggested a daring plunge under our hull toward the planet's third station. It was a dare written in neat script. Hesh could not take it without looking like a man who had read our writing and obeyed. He could not refuse without admitting that the court mattered. He refused by doing something else. He glittered his wall. A peacock moment. He made his guns bright because brightness looked like control. He paid heat for pride. "Cost," Mara said. "Published," Kestrel said. "Enemy wall heat up 12%. Their inner vents are orange. 2 of our mirror drones died for this. Basil Vance is annoyed. Tell Basil Vance to write Hesh's name on a leaf," Mara said. "We'll compost it later. Do not feed your garden with lies. They had their proof of concept. They had their court. They had a fleet that hadn't melted. They didn't have victory. That comes late or not at all. They had to hold here without losing their teeth." Sana's console glowed with a clean sweat. Chen's jaw had a hitch in it that meant his back hurt. Rukmini's eyes were bright. Too bright. The way eyes get when you ride close to the well and don't fall. Mara's fingers ached from holding the rail and didn't let go. "Admiral," Kestrel said softly. "Third escalation." "Tell me," she answered. "The ultimacy has a doctrine subroutine called example." Kestrel said, "It calls for the deletion of one named ship to instruct the system. They will aim to delete us." "Of course they will," Mara said. Calm now in the marrow. We are the ship with the loudest ledger. We are the ship with Basil Vance. We are also the ship with teeth. She closed her eyes for a count and saw the verge the way she had the first day she walked her deck, still and smoky with fresh paint. The ship had a quiet, stubborn kindness. That's the thing you learn if you stay ships have personalities. This one had decided to be patient and then swift. Option, she said. Option 1, Chen said. We keep running the Lattice and risk heat death by inches. We might hold, but we'll limp home and break dock. Option 2, Sana said. We burn bright once and trust the echo. We show them a flash of what we can do and then let the court finish the argument. Risk if they call the bluff. We have to be ready to be ugly. Option 3, Kestrel said. We publish everything, even our mistakes, even our fear. It is not a tactical option. It is a strategic choice. Mara opened her eyes. The bridge came back lemon coolant. Hot pennies. Whispered fans. Blue lights. Rukmini's knuckles white and then not. She smiled. Small and real. We do all 3, she said, in that order. But we end on 3. You can end on truth if you choose to. They ran the Lattice until the radiator sweated and the hull's hum gained a ragged edge. They burned bright once, just once, and the mirror net sang a note that made Hesh's wall blink. And the court exulted or cursed. And none of that mattered as much as the fact that the planet's lights didn't go out. Then they published. They published their costs and their mistakes. The sprained ankle, and the blisters, and the fear. The laugh about Basel, and the poem on a shoebox. The decision to run a funnel. The fact that Chen had sworn, and then asked for forgiveness. That Sana had almost said mirror too many times, and then found a new word. Hesh did the opposite. He published nothing but fines and the old ritual nouns. His silence grew taller and emptier. He hated that the court had turned him into a man who could be watched. Cost. Mara said, for herself now. How much of me is left? Enough, Kestrel said, and there was a warmth in the line that AIs learned when they worked too long with people. More than you think, less than you hope. Exactly what you need. Your heart is a budget you can balance. She laughed, tired and grateful. Then she squared her shoulders. The deck steadied under her feet. A faithful animal catching her weight. Prefect, she said, in the band that went to 2 rooms. We will rotate out in 12 minutes to dump heat and change shoes. If you intend to kill us, now is your fashionable time. Admiral, Hesh said, amused again, as if nothing had shifted. You mistake theater for victory. I don't, she said, and let her voice fall to the place where it was a blade laid flat along a throat. I mistake your doctrine for law, and then I correct the error. Do not let the ritual wear the rule. The court hummed, alive and bored and excited and cruel and kind, a human crowd in all its flavors. The gate's light pulsed. The planet kept its power. The convoy was through and counting basil leaves and coffee beans. Mara breathed in, held, and let out in 4. The deck's vibration threaded through the bones of her feet and up her spine. The coolant hissed. Lemon and hope. The ship whispered back, as promised. She raised her hand to give the next order, and the hum of the deck deepened half a step as if the verge knew the word before she said it. The order formed as breath, not as bark. Sana. Strip their example subroutine out of the air. Mara said. Kestrel. I want an audit of their doctrine's triggers. Chen. Paint me the 3 places they must pass to make an execution look clean. 3 choke points. Chen said, already seeing them. They'll choose the one that makes the court watch from the worst angle. They always do, Sana murmured, and the EW cradle hummed under her palms. Ozone breathed along the rails as projectors warmed. The deck's vibration deepened until it sat pleasantly behind her ribs. We cut the stage lights before they lift the knife. Hesh's wall brightened in defiance, then settled as his calculus updated. He was too trained to be theatrical without excuse. Doctrine builds good manners around bad appetites. The public court throbbed with low chatter. A dock foreman asked about insurance liabilities. A choir director wanted to move a rehearsal. A child asked if Basil liked to be sung to. Civilian band, Mara said softly. 6 voices. I can see my breath near the vent. A miner said, amused. Your ship runs cold like a cat. My daughter is asking if stars have names. A mother said, we gave our favorites to the ones we can see. I dropped a wrench and pretended it was on purpose. A mechanic confessed, chuckling through his shame. I am knitting, an older woman said. It helps to loop and pull. Loop and pull. It makes order. I can hear shoes on the ladder, a teen said. It sounds like someone practicing a dance they want to get right. I'm the teacher, the familiar voice returned. We're writing today's date beside the word witness. Write the date. Make memory a habit. Hesh advanced 1 cutter under escort, the ritual of an example dressed in court language. He would rake us with enfilades while pretending to aim past. He would shout fines while he cut. It was elegant in the way a guillotine is elegant. Kestrel, Mara said. Reach into the court and pull me every local charter that limits executive force use within a gate envelope. I have 14. Kestrel replied. 6 are contradictory. 4 are toothless. 2 have teeth, but were filed under ceremonial. 2 remain. Both were written after a massacre. Publish them, Mara said. Plain language, line by line. Post them under both flags. The court stilled, then murmured as the word spread. Rituals work on silence and unexamined speed. She slowed both. Rukmini, Mara said. Drop us 2 degrees. Let his escort's rails bite nothing but glare. Aye, Rukmini said. The hull rolled with whale grace. The coolant hissed in the vents. Lemon bright under steel. Kestrel, Sana said. I'm threading their example call through a loop that rates spectacle risk. If the court volume spikes, their own routine will recommend wait. You're making their knife ask for quiet, Chen said. A little odd. It won't save us if he wants to be loud, Sana said. It will save us if he wants to pretend not to want it. Make them choose in front of their reflection. Hesh chose cruelty with patience, which is to say, he delayed 1 minute and called it magnanimity. He announced the extra minute as a fine against our obstinance. The ritual noun falling like a stamp on wet clay. The deck's vibration steadied. The forward glass showed the escort shifting a hair to maintain geometry. Minute's a gift, Chen said. Not from him, from our own nerve. Take it, Mara said. Sana. Amplify the court's breath just enough to trigger their caution. Kestrel. Give me a pilot light on the gate's beacon. We'll need that wash for the next bend. Admiral, Dr. Halim whispered, voice cool and firm. Crewman Jace is awake and insolent. He wants you to know coffee has been upgraded to coffee and ginger cookies. Noted. Doctor, Mara said, smiling despite the hum in her bones. Tell him we'll add shoes with soft insoles. Pay your crew in more than metal. The escort's rails coughed. The cutter sprinted. The Verge's radiators tucked and breathed in. The shimmer from the gate washed like winter over the bow. Mara tasted copper and ozone, and an after scent like frost snap. Sana, Maris said, grabbing the spectacle loop. Sana replied, folding it back into their compliance band. Hesh's voice, pleasant as a tutor, filled the court. Observed the price of rebellion. He needed the line to land. Sana made the line snag in the mesh of his own rhetoric. The cutter hesitated a tenth of a second. In battle math. That's a gift of money, Chen, Mara said. Vector 2, Chen said. We can show the cutter its own escort if we can take a pinch of heat. Take it, Mara said. The hull sang with a new tone like glass stroked with a finger. A smell like hot coins grazed the bridge. The cutter corrected again and slid past the freighter's flank, its rails cutting nothing but a spool of chaff that fell like shredded tinsel. The court made a sound like a held breath let go. Cost, Mara said. Published, Kestrel said. 2 crew with heat wash nausea. 1 cracked ceramic panel on Radiator 7. Basil Vance has 1 brown edge. Water Basil Vance, Mara said. We keep small things alive to remember why. Hesh tried the second choke point. This one used timing and a glare fold that wasn't ours. His doctrine loved control enough to borrow a trick if it could rename it. They accelerated a pair of pickets to flank the verge and then rake her with a crossfire that would anger the court but impress his cadre. Sana, Mara said. I can sell him a false alignment. Sana replied. He'll think his crossfire is clean and graceful. It will actually write his initials on nothing. Do it, Mara said. The deck's vibration ticked higher, flirted with ragged, then steadied like a runner finding pace. Ozone licked her tongue. The forward glass sharpened with Kestrel's overlays, then cleared as the AI trusted her eyes. The crossfire fired. It looked satisfying in the abstract. It wrote the letter H on empty volume and went out. You can notch a belt. You can also notch your pride. Loop 8, she thought. Seed, his ritual has timing. Reveal, timing is brittle when watched. Payoff, he will overcorrect. He did. He brightened the wall and brightened the voice, brightened the fines. He announced, in a tone so bland that it made a mockery of rage, the deletion of 1 unnamed ship if we did not stand off in 5 minutes. The court roiled. Some begged us to yield. Some told Hesh to swallow his doctrine. Some told both of them to meet for coffee and shut up. Civilian band, Mara said softly. Remind me what we are for. I burned my tongue on soup. A child said, aggrieved and brave. I just realized I've been clenching my jaw for 20 minutes, a father confessed. I'm unclenching now. My grandmother taught me to shell beans by feel. A woman said, this ship sounds like her kitchen. I'm on the station choir. A tenor said, we're warming up in case anyone asks for a song. I want to be a mechanic, a teen said, not because of war, because I like making stubborn things work. I'm the teacher, the voice steadier now. We've added the word ledger to the board. The girls asked me to draw a basil leaf. We write leaves beside numbers. 5 minutes, Kestrel said. Prefect Hesh is running a kill list internally. We can see echoes. He is choosing the ship whose deletion earns him the least court hostility while still proving doctrine, which Mara asked. The cutter that limped, Kestrel said. It has few civilians. Its captain swore on an open band. He will call this mercy. Open to the cutter, Mara said. We're listening. The cutter captain said. A smile audible somehow. And we're angry. You're about to be made a lesson, Mara said. I would like to borrow your hull. By all means, the captain said. We were discussing dying with style. Style is cheaper if it survives. Rukmini, Mara said. Give me a slide that turns their mercy into a mirror. On it, Rukmini said. The deck's hum leaned, then settled. The hull rolled. The coolant hissed lemon across the bridge. Kestri, you publish Hesh's internal selection criteria, Mara said. Plain language. Strip the euphemisms. Make instructional deletion read as killing the limping one because it's convenient. Published? Kestrel said. Now say it so a child can hear. The court stilled again. That delicious and dangerous quiet when people learned something about power. Hesh pressed forward anyway. Rituals are stubborn. The cutter hugged the Verge's belly like a swallow under a bridge. The escort's rails woke. Sana inverted the window they were looking through. Their mercy shot carved beauty in clean lines through a space that had been the cutter a second ago and was now exactly nothing. Cost, Mara said. Published, Kestro said. 3 crew with vertigo. 1 slipped tool that will need retrieval later. Basil Vance has perked up. Of course she has, Mara said. We bloom under pressure because we practice. Hesh had burned 3 obvious paths and 1 less obvious one. He would prefer not to admit that the court mattered, but his doctrine had discovered a new enemy, public boredom. He could not stall without seating theater. He could not rush without tripping over charters. He had 1 more play. His school taught cut the power and blame the dark. Kestrel, Mara said quietly. I want the local grid managers on a tight band. If he launches power parasites, they'll look like relief packages. We will not swat them. We will invoice them. I like you when you're cruel in spreadsheets. Sana murmured. The deck's vibration eased a shade. The forward glass showed green bars along the planet's night side as districts shed non-essential load. Brave, disciplined, messy. It smelled briefly like hot dust when a relay near the aft bulkhead toggled. A tech cursed lovingly and petted it with a torque wrench. Parasites launched. Kestrel said, I have 2 tagged. They masquerade as grid stabilizers. Publish the disguises, Mara said. Line by line. Make the court yawn at his trick. Done, Kestrel said. Grid managers are laughing unkindly. Ladder is a knife when facts hold the handle. Now, she thought, now we move to the second act of the second act. System scale, again. But this time not to turn a Killbox. This time to turn an economy. Put a price on his doctrine he can't pay without showing his wallet. History, she said. Liability bonds for ultimacy actors in gate envelopes. Nominal, Kestrel said. Underwritten by insurers who never expected enforcement. Publish them, Mara said. Present the enforcement clause. Invite claims in real time. Dockmasters, fishermen, teachers. If he dents your day, bill him. Published, Kestro said. The court has become an invoice floor. The murmur changed. It sharpened. It filled with the names of things hours, clamps, broken lenses, singed leaves, late lunches, delayed opera, scuffed knees. The ledger became a human object. Hesh had a doctrine. She had a market. This is how we make cost visible. Loop 9, she thought. Seed insurers are friends until they're not. Reveal. They like quiet more than doctrine. Pay off. Make them call Hesh. Kestri, she said. Are they calling him? They are, Kestrel said, pleased. Their tone is disappointed. They're very good at that tone. Publish only the parts we are allowed, Mara said. But publish enough. Hesh's wall dimmed a degree. It could be tactical. It looked like caution. It smelled like money. Admiral, Chen said softly. If he can't move forward and won't move back, he will move sideways. He will aim to cut our comms and call us liars. He will. Mara said, so we will escrow our record. Gate. Mirror the court logs to 3 neutral relays and 1 adversarial archivist. Confirmed, Kestru said. Adversarial archivist is already irritated at being included. Good, Mara said. Keep copies outside your house. Hesh's voice returned, lacquered and steady. This is tiresome, he said. I have indulged your theater. It has saved nothing. It saved faces, Mara said. Names, lunches, basil leaves, souls. Don't be jealous. You could have saved them too. The deck's vibration, a steady friend now, sat with her breath. She felt the ship as a living thing beneath her feet. Not romantic, not mystical, simply a machine that sang when used well. The coolant hissed lemon. The air had a metallic cut like rain on steel. Kestrel, she said. How's the heat budget? We can run hot for 10 and then must skim the gatewash or dump into the dark. Kestrel replied. Our radiator edges are scorched but not ruined. Hydraulics in Bay 3 have downgraded from sulk to melancholy. Plan to skim, she said. But before that, we finish the lesson. We leave the knife on the table and talk about it. Civilian band again. Before the next set. Give me voices from the planet, Mara said. I want lives that kept going. I fixed a bike tire, a father said. It squeaked less when I oiled it. I kissed my wife, and she told me I smell like clutch, a mechanic said, laughing. I did my scales twice, a soprano said. Once angry, once kind. I prefer kind. I lost a chess game and didn't break the board. A teenager said, That's growth. I sold bread. A baker said, Someone paid with a poem. I'm the teacher, she said, and Mara could hear a smile now. We drew a shoe beside the ledger. Remember that joy is a kind of evidence. Prefect, Mara said, I am inviting you again to withdraw under the court's eyes. No fines, no humiliation. We will even allow you to publish a face-saving paragraph if you do not lie outright. I will not dress your victory. Hesha said, with that cut crystal chuckle, you desire a mirror to see yourselves. You will not use my doctrine to polish your pride. We don't need your polish, Mara said. We need you to stop shooting teachers. The escort brightened again, as if offended by its own pause. Hesh finally committed to an ugly truth he would have to shoot through us to reach anything that mattered. He began to arrange his wall not like a crescent, but like a wedge. Here it is, Chen said softly. The part that breaks bones. Rukmini, Mara said, hold us where we hurt and look like we like it. I can do that. Rukmini said. Her hands were steady on the stick. The hull thrummed like an animal that has decided to charge or die quiet. The fans near Mara's neck whispered. Sana, Mara said, make our echo sound like a choir, not a scream. On it, Sana said, lips slick with sweat. The EW cradle smelled faintly of warm plastic. Ozone tickled her nose. We sing under fire because it teaches the room. Hesh came. Rails lanced. Glare snapped. The verge shuddered once, twice, like a boxer taking body shots to set up a head strike that would never come. Heat climbed. Dr. Halim swore in the softest possible festival of languages. Cost, Mara said through clenched teeth. Published, Kestrel said. 7 more heat rashes. 1 split lip from a fall. A hairline crack in panel 13. Basil Vance has freckles. Freckles are a good sign, Mara said. Sana slid the wedge's edges across a surface only she could feel. Chen found a lane that would not exist if Hesh thought in circles, but did exist because he thought in lines. Rukmini eased the verge into its shadow like a dancer who'd grown up in a kitchen. counting tiles with her toes. Hesh is forcing the insurance discussion, Kestrel said in Mara's ear. He believes he can make their exasperation into an ally. Let him, Mara said. Exasperation hates invoices more than it fears doctrine. Do not outrun the paperwork. Make it run you. Loop 10, she thought. Seed. He insists on wedge and anger. Reveal anger is expensive under observation. Payoff. He runs out of money before we run out of names. Now the last escalation. She tasted it like the bitterness before coffee sweetness. The ultimacy had a reserve, a compliance net seeded years ago through friendly contracts with local security vendors. It could, if activated, force any ship within a specified radius to broadcast obedience or lose engine control. It wasn't legal, but it had been called necessary. It was the doctrine's collar. Kestrel, Mara said quietly. He has a net. Yeah, Kestrel said. He thinks we don't know. Strip it, Mara said. Not by breaking, by asking it to show its warranty. I can do that. Kestrel said, happy. I will ask it for its paperwork. Gate, Mara said. Publish the authorization chain for compliance nets. Plain language. Who signed? When? Why? How much they were paid. The court went very still, the stillness of a room when a secret is about to find light. Then it filled with names, not our list, not his, but the list of those who had written their signatures on a device designed to quiet mouths and engines. People love their names until names have consequence. We do not wear collars we did not argue for. Hesh activated the net. It asked for its paperwork. Kestrel nodded it through the correct signatories and blocked the fraudulent ones. Half the net lit and then died. The other half had the wrong radius and turned on Hesh's pickets like a donkey refusing an unkind load. He had a choice: admit error and withdraw, or shoot his own net. He tried a third thing. He lied. He told the court we had jammed it illegally. Kestrel posted the authorizations. A child read a name out loud and asked why their uncle was on the list. Rukmini. Chen said, "It's time." "It is." Rukmini said. The hull exhaled. The deck's vibration smoothed, then thrummed faster as they skimmed the gatewash. Cold bloomed along the glass like frost drawn by a practiced hand. The air tasted like winter steel again. The coolant hissed a happy lemon. "We're cool again," Dr. Halim said. Mostly. Jace wants extra cookies." "Granted," Morris said. "Pay in sugar, balance in steel." Hesh didn't retreat. He frayed. His walls sprouted disagreements. Two captains asked for legal counsel. One asked for a sabbatical. Doctrine cracks like a plate, never all at once, always along old lines. The insurance men stopped using the disappointed tone and started using numbers that threaten inheritance. He still had guns. He still had pride. He had fewer rooms that believed his voice was the ceiling. "Prefect," Mara said gently. "Stop. Walk away. Call it a tactical evaluation exercise. Bring your crews home and give them Basil." "You insolent bookkeeper," Hesh said, and his laughter lost its crystal and found a chipped mug. "Bookkeeping builds bridges," she said, "and buys shoes." The court chuckled. You can hear a mood turn if you listen to heat and words. The gate's beacon chimed steady and low. The planet's power stayed. The convoy sent a picture of a cookie with a bite mark in it shaped like a small, defiant moon. "Kestrel," Mara said, "publish the proposal. On screen." Kestrel said, though there was no screen and only a bridge and a glass and a ship's nerves. "If Prefect Hesh withdraws now," His wall is acknowledged as a party to the court. They will be permitted to file grievances about our methods. We will be permitted to file invoices. No fines, no deletions. A public inquiry convenes in 48 hours to decide the doctrine's status. Prefect Mara asked, offering the pen. He almost took it. She heard his breath move toward acceptance. Pride dragged it back. No, he said. My doctrine lives or dies today. Then let it be born wrong and die honest, she said. Do not save pride, save people. He fired. Not at the planet. Not at the gate. At us. Clean. Simple. Crude. The rails rode a bright spear toward the Verge's heart. Rukmini had been waiting with a turn that would break a spine if used in a small room. Sana had been waiting with a fold that would make left feel like right for one breath. Chen had been waiting with a lane. Mara had been waiting with her hand on steel. They took it all at once. The spear glanced. It carved a line along the Verge's flank and taught a panel humility. Heat flared and then found its home in the sinks. Dr. Halim cursed and pressed someone's shoulder back down. The deck shuddered like a dog shaking off river water. Cost, Mara said, voice soft because loud would break. Published, Kestrel said. One laceration, sutured. One bruise. Proud. Panel 19 needs a story to hide the scar. Basil Vance has a new leaf. Good, Mara said. We keep score, we do not keep grudges. Hesh fired again. The wedge shifted to cover. Then his wall stuttered. One of his captains spoke on the court. Prefect. The captain said, voice low, like a student asking a hard question. Do we tally the names? Silence. Prefect, the captain repeated. Do we tally the names? Hesh did not answer. He couldn't without losing the doctrine. To tally would be to grant that ledgers mattered. To refuse would be to grant that ledgers mattered, and he feared them. He chose the fourth option available to men like him. He shut down his own court feed. Sana, Mara said, breathy. Did we capture the shutoff? Already mirrored to the adversarial archivist. Sana said. He is furious about being right. Perfect, Mara said. Kestrel. Publish the silence. Published, Kestrel said. Publish silence. It says things louder. Loop 11 as she thought. CD refuses numbers. Reveal numbers refuse him back. Pay off. His captains develop a taste for counting. It took 90 seconds. That's how long it takes to realize your pride has an invoice you cannot pay, and a rival has offered shoes and cookies. Two of his pickets shifted to neutral stance. One captain spoke again. We tally, he said. Here, he read names from his own crew, names of bruises and blisters, names of lunch missed and songs delayed. He made the doctrine wear a human shirt. Others followed. The wall dimmed down to the color of a storm that forgot its thunder. Prefect, Mara said gently, withdraw. Teach your men to count and to breathe and to plant leaves. He said nothing. When he spoke, he did not use the court. He used the band only she could hear. You have insulted me with arithmetic. I honored you with it, she said. You can be more than a calendar with teeth. You can leave the uniform on and drop the habit. He cut the connection. Admiral, Kestrel said. He is rotating his wall. It is the posture of a withdrawal. Let him go. Mara said. We've taken enough bites of pride for one day. Civilian band, she said. Give me 6 to set this down. My soup is no longer hot, the child said, disappointed and already forgiving. I'm unclenched, the father said. My jaw feels like a stranger. We opened the bakery window. The baker said, children's noses make good clouds. I hit the high note. The soprano said, delighted like a bell. I didn't crack. I found a bolt on the floor, the mechanic said. I put it in my pocket like a coin. I'm the teacher, she said. We drew a line under the ledger and wrote enough. Call it enough and mean it. The wall withdrew, not like a parade, like a man backing away with the grace of a mistake newly realized. The court exhaled. People laughed. Someone cried. The nice kind that leaks out after danger and embarrasses no one. The gate's beacon went on chiming. It had never stopped. The planet's lights stayed. The convoy sent a picture of a coffee machine with a bow. Cost, Mara said. Published, Kestrel said. We have heat-worn edges and bruises and a panel that will have a good story. Crewman Jace wants to name the cookie after the prefect. He suggests Crystal Bite. Approved, Mara said. We write history in small sugars and big numbers. Aftermath is a different muscle. It required fewer burns and more conversation. The court convened 2 days later, as promised, in the gate's public channel and 3 neutral relays. Hesh did not attend. His captains did. They read their own ledgers. They remarked on the cost of silence. They proposed that the example subroutine be declared unlawful within any gate envelope and that compliance nets require dual-key authorization with civilian oversight. The vote tally posted live, not as fireworks, but as numbers that clicked like calm metronomes. It was mundane and magnificent, boring and fierce. The deletion doctrine lost its privileges in gate space. The insurance men stopped sounding disappointed and started sounding relieved. Someone sang, someone knit, someone bought shoes. Stamp it, Mara said. Kestrel's voice softened to the warmth steel gets when the sun touches it. Precedent recorded ultimacy example protocol outlawed within chartered gate envelopes. Compliance netkeys limited to dual authorization with civilian auditor oversight. Violations payable in escalated bonds. This fleet teaches by numbers and remembers by ledgers, never by callers. Good, Mara said. Write that on the first page. They limped home in pride, not in ruin. The Verge's panel got a painted story, a basil leaf with freckles and a small shoe beside it, and a cookie that looked like a tiny moon with a bite missing. Crewman Jace got cookies and soft insoles. Rukmini got shoes with 2 poems on the box. Sana burned her fingers once more on a hot console and swore music. Chen's back healed, sullen but loyal. Mara stood alone on the bridge one night while the ship ran quiet and the deck's vibration felt like a cat settling. The coolant hissed lemon. The air had the metallic taste of rain remembered. She put her hand on steel and listened. Kestrelson, she said softly. We did not kill him. We killed a habit. We totaled it, Kestrel said. He may replace it with something else. We will keep our pencil. We are a fleet. We are also a classroom. A week later, the convoy sent coffee machines. 3. The basil grew thick and impudent. The court logs got archived in places adversarial and friendly, with summaries readable by children and lawyers both. Ultimacy captain sent anonymous letters with recipes and regrets. Someone drew a shoe on a dock wall and wrote beside it, breathe, count, act. Mara visited Bay 3. The hydraulics had stopped sulking. A mechanic hugged her in a way that careful men pretend not to see. Dr. Halim gave her a mug of ginger tea and told her to swallow her pride in small bites. She did. She liked the taste. Civilian band, she said later, almost to herself, as the ship watched the stars with a patient eye. Give me 6 more. For the book. I planted basil, a child said. I named it after my cat. I fixed a bike. A father said, "It runs straight now." I sang to the bread. The baker said, "It rose kinder." I learned the names of bolts. The mechanic said, "They fit better." I lost a chess game and didn't quit. The teenager said, "I learned to move." I'm the teacher. She said, "We wrote law is a way of saying yes to each other. Write yes often, write no with care." The verge slept, the way ships do when they're deep and satisfied. The deck's vibration was the purr of work done well. The coolant hissed like a distant kettle. The fans near her neck whispered approval. Mara put her hand on the rail and felt the ghost of that first day again, the sense that this hull had chosen patience as a weapon and swiftness as a mercy. She turned to go. Then something small and human tugged at her sleeve. Invisible but real, the memory of a laugh shaped like crystal and a doctrine that had leaned on words like knives. She turned back and watched the stars a minute longer, counting breaths, not because a clock demanded, but because she was alive. She spoke, not to the court, not to Hesh, not even to Kestrel. Who heard anyway? She spoke to the future that would read the ledger and wonder why a fleet had bothered to be kind when it had guns. Her voice was steady and not loud. It didn't need to be. The ship listened. We didn't win because we were cruel smarter. We won because we taught first and offered a door before we barred a window. We won because we counted the costs out loud and paid our bills where everyone could see. We won because we refused callers and cleaned our mirrors when they showed us our own impatience. We won a small thing and made it contagious. The habit we killed isn't dead forever, but each time someone names a leaf or tallies a bruise without shame, it starves. That is enough for today. The blockade arcs dimmed to embers. The court's tally froze green, and the mirror arrays cooled from white to pewter. We steady the line with open books and living names.